Hey, welcome to ALifeLearned. Today I'm going to be talking about the true goods and bads of recycling and how you can make a difference by recycling in your community.
Ideas are nearly as useful as what we do with them.
An idea could escape.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Becca here, and today I want to talk about the realities of recycling, and unfortunately it's not all good. We often are made to think that recycling is the godsend to save the world, and it really is helpful, but there are downsides as well. For those who haven't heard of it, Penn & Teller's Bullshit is a show that basically debunks things, and my heart was a little bit broken when they chose recycling, because they made me have to come to terms with a lot of the downsides of it. Unfortunately, there are still some areas that could use some improvement, but this doesn't mean that recycling is bad. Aluminum cans actually still make a huge difference. I mean, aluminum in general is a really valuable metal that it's often collected by people to be traded in for scrap to make a little extra cash, and so there's actually people who often collect aluminum cans for that reason as well. Recycling aluminum in every way is incredibly efficient. One can actually power your iPod for a whole album of songs, or 100 cans can power a single light bulb in a room for a whole week. And that's just a few cans. I mean, people go through that many cans in a few days easily, so that's unquestionably worth recycling. Where the issue's been found in that show I mentioned, Penn & Teller's Bullshit, is particularly with the transportation of things like paper and plastic, and the way they process it produces chemical wastes that aren't properly dealt with. But this doesn't mean that you shouldn't recycle these products, because just stopping will stop people from wanting to innovate and improve these things. Above all, we need better sources of transportation. Obviously, stop using fuels and start moving on to hybrid vehicles to be transporting these things. And then beyond that, I had actually thought a really good idea for recycling paper, because a lot of paper actually doesn't come from old forests. I mean, they are still ripping those down, unfortunately, for other reasons, but paper tends to actually typically come from tree farms made for paper mills. And I think a great way to get that to be a more efficient recycling system is if we could turn the paper that we recycle into some kind of mulch that could be fed back to those trees on those farms, thus making it kind of a cycle and a lot more efficient. And when it comes to plastic, though, as I mentioned, it's not the most efficient, it still really does promote reduction of the amount of plastic that gets into the water systems if you recycle it. And as well, the argument is that it's more efficient to just make new bottles than it is to recycle old ones because of the process that it takes to melt them down and get them back into a usable form. But the fact is, we live in a finite world. We're not always going to have new materials to make new bottles. So in the end, it just makes sense to use old materials if possible, and just find new, more efficient ways to process them, continue to innovate. But actually, when it comes to recycling, part of recycling is reducing, reduce, reuse, recycle. And so if you really want to help in being more environmentally friendly in these ways, one of the best ways to do that is to stop using paper so much. Don't buy the newspaper, go online to see things from the news. Everything's posted online these days. Or stop buying things that have so much plastic packaging. Don't use water bottles anymore. Don't use plastic things that you don't need. Try to have reusable containers. Try to use paper bags. Try to have your own grocery bags. Just in general, reduce the plastic in your life, and then recycle whatever plastic you do have to the best of your ability. The less plastic that's demanded in products by people not buying those products, then the less that they'll be insisting they need to make new plastic. And in terms of how you can make a difference, of course, just simply by having a recycle bin and recycling, but also sharing with everyone how easy it is to recycle and what a huge difference every single person makes. I used to live with someone who thought that their single person recycling really didn't make that big of a difference, but it really, really does. Every person uses at least 100 cans a year, if not more, and lots of plastic absent-mindedly, so recycling all of these things really will help the environment overall. And you can try to take it one step further if you want to, and help people get recycle bins and access to recycling. I've actually done this myself. I'm not sure how accessible this is in other areas of the world, but particularly in Ontario, I came to find that my municipality offers one free recycle bin to every house, and so with that in mind, I've gone around to my neighborhood and I let everyone know know that they can have a free recycle bin. Thankfully, some people did have one, but a lot of people didn't. And so I'm very proud to say that I got 10 signatures saying that people wanted a recycle bin. And with that, I'm going to be having 10 more people in this community recycling. And it's all about sharing that knowledge. A lot of these people didn't know that they could get a free recycle bin, or they didn't realize what a big difference that one bit of recycling that they put out could really make. And so even just sharing this information can make a big difference. And it's always worth your time to try and make a difference in your community. So I hope you enjoyed my video and learned a few things about recycling. Even though they're not all efficient, they are all worth doing, and so try to do your part if you can, and please join me again next week where I try again to share a little something I've learned in life.